Hello. Welcome to another Joyful Gem with Audrey Joy. And welcome to all my new Joyful Gem subscribers, especially the fine ladies from Buena Vista, the Buena Vista Women's Connection. I was a speaker over there a couple weeks ago. Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure and my privilege to be with you ladies. And thanks for having me. Growing up in western South Dakota, you probably won't find it unusual that I was pretty heavily involved in 4-H, being raised on a farm and ranch. In fact, I was a 10-year 4-H'er. I started at age 9 and I continued up until my 20th birthday. Now, that last year, of course, I was in college, but I went to the meetings when I was at home and I stayed registered as a member until I aged out, basically. Well, one of the 4-H projects that I was involved in growing up was showing cattle. This was something I did a little bit later in my 4-H career. My younger brother and we almost always showed market steers. Now, these big boys are a little over a year old, and the reason they're called market steers is you are working on fattening them up and getting them sold to market. These 4-H projects became the steak on another's table and the hamburger on another's grill. We showed market steers for a number of reasons, but the most important, in my opinion, was that they were already halter broke. Secondly, they were fat and happy and not too terribly rambunctious. And then third, they brought good money. I never did think of those bovines as pets. I didn't get attached to them as many of my peers did. I was, in fact, surprised to see my fellow 4-H'ers crying over the sale of their own steers. And I tried one year really hard to conjure up tears, so that I didn't look like such a cold-hearted person. But as soon as they handed me that check after the sale of my steer, any thought of feeling bad went right out the window. One year, though, we decided we'd like to try our hand at feeders. Feeders are young calves, just a few months old, newly weaned from their mamas. And feeders grow up to be market steers, but preparing them to show was an entirely different ballgame. They weren't halter broke, they were very rambunctious, and they were ornery. I can't tell you the number of times my brother and I found ourselves desperately holding on to the halter rope, being drug around the pen, boots, jeans, and t-shirts being filled up with dirt and dried manure. And there may or may not have been some encounters with some not so dry manure in these draggings. But we were also being encouraged by Dad from the fence as he would holler out, "Don't let go of the rope! Don't let go of the rope!" You see, letting go of the rope would teach the calf that if they bolted, they could get away. And the idea was to win the contest between teenager and calf, to subdue them and get them broke to lead, halter broke, if you will, so that they could be shown at the county fair. Well, during one such training session, I was a little late getting to the pen. Dad had gone ahead, and my brother arrived to find that Dad had already haltered 2 calves. He had a lead rope in each hand. Both of the calves bolted when my brother climbed over the fence and went in 2 different directions. He reported to me later that he couldn't resist hollering some encouragement of his own. "Don't let go of the rope, Dad! Don't let go of the rope!" He and I got a good giggle out of it later, although he said Dad didn't find it very funny at the time. I can guess that maybe later he did find humor in it. I always think of the verses in Romans 5:3-4 when I consider those calf training sessions. It says this, "And not only this, but we also exult in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation brings about perseverance, and perseverance proven character, and proven character hope." Now, to be fair, the context of this scripture is about faith and the hope we have in God. But I do think the tribulation of breaking a feeder steer to lead was useful in the development of me as a human. It most certainly was a trial and a tribulation to break those calves, to train those calves. And in order to do so, we had to persevere. And in persevering, our character grew stronger. It taught us a work ethic and to not give up when things are hard. And we hoped we'd meet our goal to get those calves ready for show. And you know what? We did it. Now, we never did it again. We never did feeders another year. We went right back to market steers, but for that year, we got it done. And when I was in the show ring, proudly taking my fully broken and well-trained feeder steer through the steps that the judges called out, I had quite a sense of accomplishment. It was worth every moment of struggle. If you found value in this gem, hit that like button underneath the screen down at the bottom of your screen, and share it with a friend. If you're not already a Joyful Gem subscriber, you can change that. You can log into my website, thisisforme.com, or just email me, audreyjoy@thisisforme.com. Be joyful.